In our Sunday liturgies, the first reading from the Hebrew Scriptures is thematically or by a picture linked directly to the gospel. There's a theme there. And so in the first reading from Isaiah, there's a picture of recovery, that this God who is coming will be a curing experience. His touch, behold, this will happen and that will happen. The gospel then picks that up by Jesus doing what the prophet has said the Messiah must do. So in the gospel you will remember and you will read, when the people who see Jesus doing these things, we'll talk about what he's been doing, but they said, he does all things well. What that means is the execution isn't done well. It's the fulfillment of the prophet. He is fulfilling well the picture of who the Messiah will be. What can the Messiah do? So that's how those two readings go together. He does all things well in fulfilling the expectations or prescriptions of what the Messiah must be, which is a real challenge to the Jewish believers in the coming Messiah, because they really did expect the Messiah to come with trumpets and chariots and power and domination and overthrow the Romans and put Israel at the top of the heap. Well, that's not going to happen. So it's a real challenge. They want to believe he does everything well, but he doesn't fulfill all our physical, worldly expectations. So that's the conflict that Mark's gospel especially has. Jesus fulfills the prophets, but not the expectations of the scribes, Pharisees, and faithful Jewish people. So that's the readings for today. But there's something that caught my eye, ear. It's that Jesus comes to a deaf man. What's my problem with that?
The other way. That's right.
It's that Jesus is defining, or the people are defining, or the gospel writer is defining, this man is primarily deaf. That is, he is defined by an adjective. And the conversion is, and Jesus does it in all the Gospels, changes people's adjectives or descriptions. Jesus changes the deaf man and the man who can't speak, changes, not just heals them from what this text says, an impediment, changes and says, now, not only are you no longer hearing impaired, but more essentially, you are a man, a human being, loved by God, which is more important than a physical defect. Are you a deaf person, a blind person, a crippled person? In Christian spirituality, we do not define ourselves by adjectives, by accidentals, by mere easy names. So what are you if you are no longer a deaf person? How does that change you? And it changes, he cures the man from his impediment of hearing to a man who can hear and speak. Why? Because he now is not confined and defined by accidents, by not just accidents like car accidents, but by non-essentials. And he's doing that. That's the work of Jesus, in a way, that redemption is not only redeeming us from the inevitability of God's anger, if you will, but there's a redemption of image. And so Jesus said, no, don't say anything to anybody else. They can't help it. What they have heard about who they are, they have to speak. He does all things well. He did something well for me. He gave me a new name for myself, an essential name, a name that allows me to speak more boldly, to not be afraid of what I am going to hear. Don't say, I don't want to hear that. I want to be deaf to that. No, when we know who we are available to hearing anything, because nothing is a challenge. Actually, everything becomes an invitation, and we are freed because of our faith in Jesus. We can listen to, and we can hear, and we can speak, and we are free to speak what we have heard because we are not afraid to speak who we are. That's a real conversion. And so who are you? How easily do you define yourself? Do I define myself by a non-essential, by a non-real? Yes, being sick, being hearing impaired, visually impaired, that is the truth. But there is a deeper truth, that our faith says this is who you are. And he does all things well, not just healing us from this sickness or that, but for us it's a more essential, the healing. Let me tell you who you are. If there's a mission that Jesus lived and did, it was simply, let me really tell you who you are in a way that you can hear. Because if you hear it, you will speak it. If you see it, you will display it. It will be seen because you have seen in how you live. So we will do who we are. If you are confined and defined by an impediment, you will act that way. Because people have told you, oh, you're a crippled, so you've got to act like a crippled person. No, you're not a crippled person. You're a person who is crippled. And so at the Eucharist, we come to receive his name for us. You are my body. You are my brother. You are my sister. You are my beloved. And we are asked to receive that healing from any other name. Oh, I'm a sinful woman. I'm a gossipy man. No. If you change, if you let prayer and the Eucharist change your image, your accidental little name, you will start acting. We do who he says we are.